For those who might need a quick refresher, the trade tensions between the US and China have been simmering for years. It all kicked off when the Trump administration slapped tariffs on Chinese goods, pointing to unfair trade practices and intellectual property theft. China didn't sit quietly, they fired back with their own tariffs. What followed was a back and forth tariff battle that hit both countries hard and sent ripples through the global market. Fast forward to now, and the situation remains messy. Tariffs are still in place, businesses are wrestling with rising costs, consumers are seeing higher prices, and there's growing chatter about a potential global recession. But recent developments have thrown a new twist into this trade war tale. Just last week, former President Donald Trump dropped a bombshell. He claimed he's been in talks with China about the trade tariffs. According to Trump, these discussions are active, hinting at the possibility of some resolution. Sounds promising, right? Well, not so fast. China has flat out denied that any such talks are happening. Beijing's stance is clear. No negotiations are underway, and they're calling on the US to drop its tariffs first. This clash of narratives is raising eyebrows. Is Trump bluffing to shake things up, maybe to sway public opinion, or nudge the markets? Or could there be quiet backroom talks we just don't know about? The truth is murky, and that uncertainty is a big part of what makes the situation so tricky. On top of this, there's another layer to the story. Rumors that China might be lifting some of its trade restrictions. There's no official word from Beijing, but market whispers suggest they could be softening certain barriers, maybe as a peace offering or a calculated play to cool things down. If this turns out to be true, it could signal a shift, possibly paving the way for real negotiations. But let's pump the brakes here. These are just rumors, and in the world of trade, rumors can spark hope one day and fizzle out the next. Without solid proof, we've got to take this with a grain of salt. So what's the bigger picture here? If Trump's claims hold water and talks are happening, we might see the trade war start to thaw. Lower tariffs could ease the pressure on businesses, stabilize jittery markets, and maybe even give the global economy a much-needed boost. That's the optimistic scenario. But if this is all just hot air, if the talks are a mirage, we could be stuck in a standoff for a while. Markets despise uncertainty, and we've already seen how every headline or hint about this issue sends stocks swinging. A prolonged deadlock could drag down industries tied to global trade and fuel economic slowdowns. But then there's China's angle. If they're easing restrictions, they're likely not doing it for free. Beijing has its own wish list. Think US tariff rollbacks, tech concessions, or better market access. Any deal would need to work for both sides, and that's a tall order given the mistrust between them. It's worth noting that current rumors point to conversations taking place behind the scenes, as there are claims that the CCP government is offering refunds for tariff payments paid by Chinese businesses in certain sectors as early as the beginning of April, just when the tariff war between the two countries kicked off. If these rumors are true and Beijing has decided to give relief to Chinese businesses hurt from the fallout, then this could be a sign pointing to things really having changed between the two nations. Furthermore, there's supposedly evidence of high-ranking CCP officials being photographed recently in Washington. If these claims are true, then the only logical conclusion would be that these talks are happening. In relation to these claims, the Chinese embassy in Washington has posted online stating that there are no talks taking place between the US and China regarding trade, likely trying to protect the image of the party and prevent any opinions or perceptions that China may have folded in negotiations with the US. But China has good reason to refuse these rumors. It would affect both Xi Jinping and the CCP's image if true. The country defiantly refused trade negotiations with the US initially, framing the country as a bully who wanted to take advantage of neighboring nations for greed, all while framing itself as poised to change the economic landscape. China has long held the position that it was only a matter of time until it would replace the US as the global economic leader that would bring peace and prosperity abroad and that other countries could rely on. It is likely that Beijing sees any sign of weakness from the outside as breaking this image, and that is likely why they are taking this position. Right now, the US China trade tariff situation is a puzzle of claims, denials, and rumors. Trump says talks are on, China says they're not, and whispers of lifted restrictions keep the speculation alive. One thing's clear: the stakes are sky high. The outcome, whether it's a breakthrough or a breakdown, will shape economies and markets worldwide. So, what's next? Will we get a deal that calms the waters, or are we in for more turbulence? Time will tell. For now, all we can do is watch, wait, and try to make sense